Hello, and welcome back to Besties Unscripted. It's
And I am
Grace.
Kaylee.
And today we have an episode that is so well timed. I don't know how Kaylee planned this. If she had a conversation with the stars and the cosmic universe and was like, this is what our besties need.
Because me and Grace just fought with the internet for like 45 minutes. And it just seems appropriate, not just for what's going on in the world, but also personally. We need to meditate.
We need to meditate. You guys, I spent $300 on a microphone because I wanted to finally sound like a baby angel for all of you. And of course, it like never works correctly. So now I'm back in these dorky pink headsets.
But you sound really good.
It's okay.
Truly.
Honestly, that's really sad that this is where I should have just
stayed with that.
100%. Anyway, we are really excited to talk about how to find light in the dark and cultivating positivity in times of uncertainty. Ooh, girl, it has been a wild 2025 to say the least. I feel like we've lived 5 years in the last month. We've officially are entering February, and it's like, I don't know, I feel kind of like whiplash.
Same. And I feel like everything's going kind of, I was going to say so fast, but I truly feel like January was the longest month ever. We're finally in February, and now we're still having some crazy just shit on the news. Like, I feel like everyone I talk to, especially like my clients, everyone is stressed as fuck. We are all so fucking stressed. My husband's so stressed. I live in La La Land, as y'all know. It's like I get my news from Grace and my husband. So, the things that came out like Elon Musk Nazi fucking salute.
His heartfelt.
I didn't know about that, y'all, for like, it was 8 days after, and I had to YouTube it. So that's where Kaylee is.
Yeah, girl. I think there's a really fine line between protecting your peace and also like checking out. I had that conversation with my husband. My
The
husband.
husband.
It's like, it just makes me need to, everything that's going on is making me feel like I need to take a step back and tap out for a minute to protect myself. And he obviously supported that and agreed, but he was like countering that belief or that thought, being like, don't you think that's kind of what, like,
Ooh.
we say they, but don't you think that's kind of what they want, is for people to kind of remain absent-minded so that they can continue to create change that we're oblivious to? And I was like, oof, yeah. So I agree. And we actually had a conversation with my sister Megan on the podcast about environment and change, and like how you and I are more of those, like, we just have to protect our peace and like take a step away. So I think this episode is going to be really interesting on like, how do we protect our peace and step away, but also engage with our life and like what's happening around us.
And also putting our heads together and figuring out, well, what can we do about certain issues that we feel like we need to stand up for in a way that it's beneficial to everyone versus just bitching, right? Or I don't know.
No, 100%. I so agree. And I like think that kind of got to one of my points. I agree, everyone's stressed out. I feel like everyone's overwhelmed. There's that whole like feeling of doomsday, kind of like, because not even just within the US, but like around the world, there's so much stuff happening. And like you just said it, we want to create positive change, because I do feel like there's like lack of community. Like, we're all just bitching on the internet, but it's not a lot of us are like engaged in actual communities that like we can feel supported by and we can create positive change from.
Yeah, I think 2025 already is like pushing me to really be more in person, doing things that mean a lot to me versus being home and kind of scrolling. And I think the internet is so powerful. There's a lot of good things that come out of it because we can, just like right now, we're like talking to our people, feeling safe, and they could be in across the world right now. But being in person, I feel like, is a 2025 like push for me There's something about that I feel like we've lost since the internet and social media has gotten so big.
That's why I mean, you and I have had the conversations on how when we announced it on our last episode with Snowy, where we're like looking forward to doing an in-person event with our community because you guys, we need it so badly. And so we know we're not alone in this. And I feel like there's so many benefits to community health benefits that we already know, but also just like, I think it creates so much more empathy for other people. Y'all are fucking, not y'all as in my besties, because I know you're listening and you're beautiful, magical, and perfect, but people on the internet are wild. I saw that video of Selena Gomez was crying and talking about how she was really upset to see like the separation of children and parents and like mass deportations. And she was really triggered by it and she was feeling hopeless and helpless clearly. And so she made a video and she posted it online. People were like legit attacking her, being like calling her disingenuous and saying that she's a billionaire, like of course there's things that she should do and all sorts of crazy shit. And it's like, you guys do understand you're yelling at like a Mexican American woman for having feelings about mass deportation of like majority of Mexican citizens. Like, why can't she have
Yeah, and
feelings?
also that could have been a really cool experience for other people to stop and listen and learn instead of attack something that you don't understand. You are not her, you're not in her situation. Who gives a fuck if she is a millionaire, billionaire? That was like with the fires. People were saying that it didn't matter if their house burnt down because they're millionaires. I'm sorry, what? Because they have
Yes,
money,
100%.
they it's okay for them to lose every single thing in their home. And
And this is why, dude, I feel so passionately where I'm like, it is in our human nature. If we are not personally affected by something or someone that we know and love is not personally affected by it, we have like such a fucking hard time being empathetic and kind to people, exactly like the fires. You're like, oh, whiny rich people lost their house, like you'll be fine. But if you were someone that say has been through like Hurricane Katrina and
mm,
you lost everything, or the more recent hurricanes in North Carolina, those poor people in North Carolina, not to totally segue, but they still are without power and without resources, and they're going through the winter like this. Like, I'm struggling for words because I feel like our community, our culture, we need a spirit bath. We
mm,
need to be
yeah,
cleansed.
I agree. I think,
For real.
like, truly, I think something that is approaching me, and I like to say my spirit guides, guys, because I'm crazy, um, is the community and meditation and the spiritual, like, coming togetherness.
And I don't want to imply like it's everyone is so entitled to their own feelings and opinions. I just feel like we can all mutually agree if we are in person how we speak to one another and how we would behave. And we know that like the behavior on the internet just becomes so unhinged. And you're like, you would never be bold enough to say that to someone's face. And so it's like wildly disgusting that you feel like it's appropriate for this moment. Um, and yeah, I think it just contributes to all of the feelings of like overwhelmed and devastation that we already feel. So obviously, Kaylee and I have been feeling our feelings about
Is
this. And so
Mercury
we're
in
like, okay,
retrograde right now?
it might be, dude.
I would love
Should we
I think
Google?
I need to hear. Dark situations like this, I feel like there's light that is pushing us to come forward. It's like, bitch, you want to live like this or do you want to live in the light and you want to feel good every day? So what the fuck are you going to change because it's, it's one or the other. So challenge me, motherfucker. Let's go.
Kaylee always has the right words, you guys. Mercury is not in retrograde,
Ah,
not until March 15th. So we got a little bit of time on our hands. How are we going to put ourselves in a place to not feel hopeless, helpless, and feel empowered to be living our best lives during a very ambiguous time?
yeah, I think 100% shifting that focus. So external things, as we know, media, things that just trigger us, get to us, bringing that internally. And I know this is something we talk about all the time, but you know, we have to focus on what we can control because if not, this shit will run us over.
Yes, I think a great way to really start to work on your brain if you struggle with like doom scrolling or just like spiraling internally if you get like hooked on a thought is Stoicism. I've talked about it on the podcast. Ryan Holiday is an author. He wrote a book called The Daily Stoic. Every single day is a passage of Stoicism. And it also then has an English interpretation. It's in English, but like it gives you a breakdown of what it means and kind of how to apply it to your life. And it is truly all centered around how we can only focus on what we can control. So that's my hot tip there. I think when we're talking about focusing on what we can control and creating peace and relying on our internal, I think we've got to just really shout out something that we preach all the time, but it is mindfulness and meditation. And I think we have to, like Caitlin and I, when we got on the call, we're like, fuck, we should have meditated this morning.
Yeah.
We're going to make it a priority. And I think some of our favorites, if you're like, oh, who do you like to meditate to? We love Gabby Bernstein. You can pull up her videos on free for you on YouTube. And I love a good Joe Dispenza meditation, also free on YouTube. We posted this to our story, like questions about how to really find inner peace or what you're looking for, tips and techniques on. And one of the questions we received from our besties was, how do you start meditating in a way that your brain doesn't trauma dump in the silence? And I love this question.
I love it too. I think it's so normal for that to happen. Trauma dumping, or even just thinking about random things that you like need to do, you need to be. But thinking about going to the gym for the first time in 2 years, you're not going to be able to lift as much as you will whenever you're going for consistently for a year or whatever. It's a practice. So the first time is not going to be perfect. It might actually suck, but you need to keep going back. So I started, it was guided meditations from Gabby Bernstein, and it was like 2 minutes, and then it was 5 minutes. And truly, I don't do meditations for like 20 minutes. Like that's just not my vibe. I love a short, like really get into the feels of it when my brain's going crazy and I need strength and I can't do a maybe silent or just like music only meditation. A guided meditation is everything. But just remember, like, this is a practice. It's going to get better and better and better each time. So when your brain's going and going and going, let it. Remembering to just come back to that breath, but don't beat yourself up for letting it go here and there.
You hit the nail on the head. I was about to say, just like doing something that isn't silent, letting it be guided so you can focus on the words. Maybe even just like, sometimes I like to visualize my day if I start to get distracted and my brain like can't be still, which is the purpose. I get it. But I will then be like, okay, well, I'm going to use this time to think about how I'm envisioning myself behaving as my highest self throughout my day. And what does that look like? And I think that can be really helpful too.
And that's just fun. Like just sit for 5 minutes and think about your fucking best life. How fucking fun is that? So I like that.
We also got a hot tip from one of our listeners about a app that they like to use, which is the Insight, INSIGHT timer app. And yeah, our listener wrote in and said, I've learned I can literally pull myself out of a panic attack through this meditation. And this is an app she recommended. So we're excited to try that.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Yesterday, my Gabby Bernstein app, my annual subscription went up, and I was like, I just can't pay for a subscription right now. So I was looking up and I was like, best free meditation app, and Insight timer came up. So I downloaded it and I bookmarked all of these meditations I'm going to do this week. And oh my God, it was the same one that she had said. So that is okay.
That's
To
amazing.
universe, the universe is calling.
Oh, I'm going to go download. I'm excited to try it.
And it's free. It's freaking free.
Which we love. I also keep getting spammed. So I did a little research on this app called Endel Sound, Endel. And it offers scientifically backed soundtracks for all of the modes of human activity: sleep, focus, chores, and self-care. So depending on what you're doing throughout your day, it's supposed to have some type of noise for each. And why it got me was I was scrolling on Instagram and I scrolled down and it just was the sound. And my body immediately calmed and I was like, ooh, this is good. So, but just like adding things into your day, like these apps. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to go on Pinterest or Instagram. I'm going to put up my meditation app and I'm going to spend the 5 minutes that I would spend scrolling now doing like a quick silent meditation. Like,
hell yeah. It really does help too.
Yes.
And then I think like our mindsets can influence like the dark and light, right? As we know. So focusing on our small wins, and I think we said this, 2 episodes ago? It's because it works and it helps. And even as a coach, like my girls that have like, maybe I didn't lose anything this week, but I hit my water, like that is a fucking win. And that's going to help in that weight loss. So focusing on these smart wins that do bring you joy and peace, because if we live in that doomsday mindset, we're going to fucking live there, y'all.
And I think like totally segue, but when you say focusing on what you win, especially when it comes to exercise, something that I know I've been personally struggling with when it comes to like my weight loss journey, and I say weight loss, I like my goals are to get stronger, but it's really hard to see so much Ozempic use, so Wegovy use online, to see people like shedding weight so fast. And these are people I know and have said that they're like using this medication for weight loss. So like it's not to shade them, but it definitely creates that comparison in your brain of like, oh, it's frustrating to see this person's dropped all this weight for her wedding and I'm over here like busting my ass. And like, yes, I am seeing results, but it's not nearly as quickly as she. And so I think also when we're focusing, if like maybe if you're in a dark mindset, like Kaylee's we're talking about, it don't compare your dark mindset to someone else's light mindset and just focus on getting yourself from the dark to the light. And I think we talked about this, like 2 episodes ago, about our Bestie Journal. You bitches better have gotten your Bestie Journal, okay? Because we're all going to start writing down one time a day what we are grateful for. And like at minimum, if you forgot your journal and you're out and about, like send that shit via text to your bestie. What are you grateful for? And the reason why we're doing this is because it has been studied and it's been found that there's a 25% improvement in overall well-being over the course of 10 weeks. If you can commit to this, we have better sleep quality and reduce symptoms of depression. All the things that your girls need this sad winter.
That's
SADs.
I love the science backed, because it really does make a difference. When I was doing it every single morning, and that is my 2025 goal to get back there, it like my whole life changed. It's crazy. It's crazy how much it really, really, really does help. And it seems so kind of corny and cheesy, but like just fucking do it because it helps so much.
And like you and I, we talk about this inside, but like having to put this back as like priority number one.
Yeah. Yes.
There's so many things I want to accomplish in the morning, especially, and I know you as a mother of 3, it's like there's so much shit going on, but this has to be number one.
Yeah, I was in my weight loss journey and just like spiritually growing. It was a non-negotiable. Like I had to meditate or journal before I started cardio, because I would do like my fasted cardio at like my 4 a.m. before the kids woke up. So it was meditation and then cardio, even if that was going to make me late to cardio. Meditation and journaling was my top priority. So just getting back to that, especially when life is crazy with kids, or God, fucking planning a wedding like Grace, or, there's so many different things that we go through and that people need us. And it just feels a lot. It can feel so overwhelming. So just making sure you're like filling that cup up in the morning, for real, for real, for real. Or, whatever time you want to, but.
And like to your point, and being kind to yourself when you are off the mark or you need to like get back on track, and having self-awareness and self-compassion and like that positivity that I know I've got this because this is something that's important to me. I was thinking about it, and we were talking a lot about community earlier and how we're so excited to like bring our bestie community in person. I know things that make me feel good, and it's also scientifically proven to make you feel good, is being kind to other people. Acts of kindness.
We learned that in what? Kindergarten. Yeah, so I just recently started volunteering for Young Lives, which is a teen mom group, and help support just, teen moms in my area and their babies. And it's something that's like, I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. And it's crazy because we had Young Life in high school. I never showed up because it wasn't my scene. It wasn't my people. And for me to like join something like this is really big, and to like enjoy all of the people that go, like I just love all the mentors and all the leaders. And so it feels just really fucking good to give back and be a part of your community in whatever way. So obviously I had Aiden when I got pregnant at 19. So that was something that like hit close to home. So volunteering in something that hits close to home, I feel like is a game changer, because if it's something that you kind of maybe don't really understand, it could feel good. But I think when you feel more passionate about it, it's even better. Hot tip.
I love that hot tip. And I think that is a good goal for everyone to like channel in 2025, is to like get involved in something that you feel like you're giving back to your younger self. Like you're,
Yeah,
like you're healing parts of yourself, which I think is so
it's like
beautiful.
therapy. You're right. So good.
And then you talked about earlier how you like, yo, when I tell you, when I tell you that Kaylee will go to a training session with one of her clients and then she'll call me and be like, did you hear that this happened? And I'm like, Kaylee, that was 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard about it. And she's like, wow, like that's crazy. So you clearly have set some boundaries in protecting your energy and limiting your exposure to negativity. What does that look like for you?
To not be around the fucking news and shit. The reason I don't do that, and my dad tells me every time I go over there, he's watching the news, and I'm like, Dad, we're detoxing. What is this? I don't trust anyone. Okay. I trust no one. So
Mhm.
anytime I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch, I'll dabble with the Today Show, but not really, because I'm doing things at 7 a.m. But when I'm turning it on, like the local news, it's just about shootings and kidnappings and
Yeah.
bleh, makes me want to puke. Not that, like, I'm not saying it's right to not watch the news and be aware, because I'm fucking aware of my surroundings, but it's too much for me. It's too much for my fucking nervous system. I can't do it. I want to go save everyone out there. And I think just taking it in doses. Grace gave me a really good, like, email me, but I just delete it. So not sure if that's, I don't know. Let's try. Like, this is not an advice, because I need to get better at it. So I don't know. Y'all help me. What's a good news source? Because I can't pick either. I think
I
everyone's corrupt and I trust no one.
But I think that's fair, and honestly, fair, and there's always room for improvement. The news, the daily news blast you're talking about is the Skim, SKIMM, and basically they just send you a roundup newsletter of everything that happened that the day before, or like what's trending at the moment, breaking news, which I appreciate. And I feel like that one is pretty straightforward, maybe a little left leaning. But maybe I just think that because it's women, and I'm like,
Mm,
all women should love women's rights.
true.
Um, but no, I think the problem that we face is that, to your point, the news organization is a business.
Yeah.
And regardless of their political affiliation, Fox, MSNBC, like whichever, their business is run to generate traffic and generate viewership and generate numbers. So, of course, they are sharing the most outlandish perspective or like the most terrible things that are happening, because it's like rage bait. It's like trigger baiting you. So I don't think it's unhealthy, Kaylee, that you detox from the news. I do think that there are different ways that you have to find that's good for you, obviously, to like want to like check in with the world and what's going on. And maybe that is like you rely on the word of mouth of like people that you love to share things that they feel are important. And then you go and do your own research, which is kind of what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Like, Grace will give me I feel like the scoop, and then I can go and then I do my own research on it and then we talk about it. But yeah, it's very rare that I hear something crazy from a news channel.
Yeah. And I mean, and people are also getting their news from social media now,
Mm.
like TikTok and Instagram, which is cool and wildly scary and all the things, because when you're like, I don't trust anyone, I mean, you really have to be diligent about like the information that you're consuming, and if it's based in fact or fiction, because a lot of it is based in fiction, it's been my understanding. But I will say, I really, for my own personal boundary, I will only check a news related thing like one time a day. If I'm reading the Skim, I like to listen to the New York Times does a daily show. It's called The
Oh,
Daily, and they
really?
give a little. And it's like 20, 30 minutes. They'll give a little rundown of like what's going on. I will say though, that is for any of my conservative girly friends listening, it's probably not the pod for you because it's
Oh, it's a
definitely not
podcast?
a, yeah. And I enjoy that one. And then I like Instagram accounts. It's called Real News No Bullshit, and I think they do an exceptional job of just here's what's happened, here's below, and then everyone pops off on their own opinion of it. There's also a girl on Instagram. She's Jordan is my lawyer, and she does a really good job of presenting what is going on without adding a lot of like personal
Yeah,
perspective or
they
opinion.
just add all the fluff, and it's so frustrating. It's like, I just want the facts, and I want to know like what this means and what that means. And it's like they say a bunch of words and then they say why we should be scared. And I'm just like, dude, fuck off.
I think it's a really good opportunity for these types of content creators that are coming out to be making this type of content.
Mhm.
Like because we're all craving that. Like I want someone to give me the skinny of what's going on and then allow me to make my own assessment and
Like you're
decision
talking
of like how
to
I feel about
like
it.
you're talking to a narcissist. You are giving facts
Correct.
and there's no emotion.
I hope that you guys have taken some pretty key like helpful tips and tricks away. I mean, we've mentioned books, apps, meditations. We all are doing our gratitude journal together every day,
Every day. And
ladies
we
and
want
gays.
y'all to send a picture to us, DM, or even tag us on Instagram because we want to be sharing ours. And we want, again, community. What we just talked about is so important. And y'all are our community. So you better be tagging us on Instagram.
And we have really exciting reminders because this month is a special, special month because it's our first month of our Besties Book Club. Now, I know I've gotten some responses from some of our besties online, and yes, we do realize that we chose a book that had 2 books ahead of
And
it
not just
to
small
read. I
books,
did.
but very big books. And I don't know. We did that, and we won't do that next month.
I promise. But listen. Okay, the reason why we selected this book, which is, if you haven't seen our post, it is The Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. And the reason why we chose it is because it just came out, and majority of people I know are reading it, excited to read it. And so if you haven't caught up to it yet, we apologize. We look forward to looping you in
Yeah.
March, but you can catch up. Listen to the audiobooks for the first 2.
Yeah.
Also going to do some Instagram live discussions to like check in with each other throughout the book. So those are going to be on February 13th. And then we'll do a final discussion on February 25th, wrapping up the
Yes.
book.
So mark your
So
calendars. We need to pick a time. So we'll do that.
we'll post it on socials. And if you need any more information or you want to like, we can check out our post on Instagram, or you can go to www.theunscriptedwellnesscollective.com. There is a book club tab and you can learn all about it. But we are so excited for a little more community.
Yeah.
And we'll keep you guys posted about our in-person event.
So excited. And then if y'all have any recommendations for March book, go ahead and drop those too, because it's coming in fast, y'all. It is coming in hot. Okay. We love you so much. Thank you for bitching with us. And let's try to find fucking light because it's just getting rough out here.
Love you guys.
Love
See
you,
you next
bye.
week.